Alright, hello there YouTube. This is Mr. Pokemon 907. I really do hope that this game isn't too loud or too soft when I do end up finishing this video and this video goes up. But as you can see in the title, this is going to be a very interesting topic. I was thinking if I should do this or not, because really and truly these are some weird days that we live in, and you really can end up saying too much or too little. But I was thinking about it for long enough. I spent around 3 or 4 hours actually thinking if this really is good or not to speak about. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that yeah, I've definitely got to make this video. I've got to do it. We've got a lot going on these days with technology, right? And there is this growing pace for artificial intelligence, AI. And the thing about it is, this artificial intelligence demands a whole lot. When I say a whole lot, I mean a whole lot of memory, right? Something called RAM, anything else. And that RAM is being used literally, quite literally, one of the best dying soundtracks in this entire game. Just listen to that. Just listen to that for a bit. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. The soundtrack in this game is amazing. Anyways, as I was saying, that RAM is literally being used up by these robots per se. So what's happening is it's hitting everybody hard. Like anything that uses RAM, computers use RAM, televisions use RAM, pretty much everything these days uses RAM, because it's what gives a computer the power to do something, is like what gives it memory per se, right? And Sony is being hit hard, Nintendo's being hit hard, people think, but that is what I'm going to be talking about mostly today. I was going to focus on playing something else here, but I'm going to go ahead and play this instead, because I do think something is pretty much around the corner for this as well. Mario Kart was being, Nintendo's being kind of silent on Mario Kart, but I really do see it happening soon enough. Anyway, so yeah, hard, yeah, 32 races. Let's see, it was playing. Alright, let me go with this one instead, this time around. Alright, so I'm still going to finish. I still have to finish 150cc for my, or I still plan to 150cc for my Mario Kart 8 Deluxe playthrough. I'm going to get back to that as well, but I'm going to be playing this for now and just speaking, alright? So what I noticed is that, there's a lot going around about, the fact that Nintendo has, oh my god, I look so unprofessional. I'm really not bad at this, I promise, right? Alright, so, everyone goes on about how Nintendo always had the weaker systems, but what this, I'm quite sure, is just a major misunderstanding. I still think this is a bit too loud, to be honest. I think I kept my volume around here, I think. Around here. Yeah. I think that's good. So, yeah, I think that should be good from there. Let's go. Alright, so, what's been happening is that throughout history, we know fully well, Nintendo fan or not, you've got to admit, because it's the truth, that Nintendo systems were always like lesser in power compared to, like Sony and Microsoft and stuff like that. The thing about that, though, is that it wasn't an advantage back then, but it's an advantage now, because let's put it this way: the company spent way less money on technology. So like through the years, the amount of sales that the system made, it would add up later down the road, right? Well, Sony PlayStation especially, is literally like the bigger, older sibling that, like, no brains at all. I'll just do what I feel like, and like, oh look, I've got graphics, buy my games. And everyone was impressed for the longest while. PS2 got the best sales, I think one of the best systems sold. PlayStation 3, 4, 5, all the way up. We're at 5 right now, right? And what people are not watching carefully is that, Sony PlayStation I'd really say that their system, Sony PlayStation, was the best that they were doing for us was perfecting the graphical technologies. That's it, literally. But Nintendo now focused on their video games, the story. I said this a lot in some videos that I made. But what I'm proving here, what I'm stating here, is how and why Nintendo is winning, not Sony, not PlayStation. I would beckon against anyone these days, especially buying, spending all their money on a PlayStation system. And I'll give my reasons here right now. So today is definitely not yesterday. The economy is way different. The earth is really heavily populated these days. So we've been having serious amounts of what I would call Jesus. The timing. We were having serious inflation, right? And stuff and that. The third and the fourth companies now are being stressed by the total amount of people on the earth. Like, they've got to print just as they get their money, they've got to spend it back just to be able to, go print some more snacks, print some more for food, clothing, you name it. Like, people are buying up these things and they'd go out of stock eventually, right? So I think that's really the problem that's going on right now too. And these companies maybe are possibly telling lies, trying to trick us and say, oh, it's the AI that's doing it. But if they have these AIs, they've got to like constantly change the RAM. They've got to, I really do think AI could definitely burn out RAM. The amount of power that those things use per second every day, like programs across the internet, stuff like that. Now we're using AI for everything. So the AI industries are buying up all the RAM, yeah. But what's happening altogether is that the companies now have less, you would say, like priority. All the priority for this RAM is being given directly now to the RAM, to the AI robots, machines, computers, and the companies now, the price on them for basic companies like they're just looking to make a laptop or a video game system or something, the price has skyrocketed like big time. All right, so prices for everything are going to be pressured to just skyrocket. I was like I was saying in a lot of videos and posts and all that across social media, everything else, that really and truly it made sense. Do not mind the freaking ghettos or whatever else whoever might be saying that is not. I'm not being disrespectful. That term either is just the raw truth. A lot of people who think they want to be thrifty about everything, cheap about everything, saying that Nintendo Switch 2 is not. They were saying it's not. It's definitely worth it. I was saying for years, get your Switch 2. Well, about a year now is out. Get your Switch 2 if you can. You're not going to be sorry in the near future, because I could have been able to tell from the get-go what is going to happen here. But these EA are just snatching up all the damn RAM. I'm going to switch to a different game as well instead of playing this. This could get tired. A lot of people like Mario Kart, to be honest. Like, but let's play something else as well. Kind of, keep this video a bit. The attention span is kind of tired these days. People don't really have the best attention span. A lot of youth, especially whomever is watching, adult or not, the attention span is really weak. So the RAM shortage now is hitting everyone, and let's look at the differences. All right, so Nintendo focused on their video games, their stories, their characters, and everything. And now that the Switch 2, you've seen by now Final Fantasy VII Remake released on Nintendo Switch 2 already, and it is on par with PlayStation 5. A lot of people are saying for sure it is. You're looking at the graphics, the details, the frame rate, everything. It is gorgeous. It runs. It operates. And this is a freaking tablet. The Switch 2 is a tablet. I'm playing on Switch 2 right now. And believe it or not, you're going to think that this is television mode that I'm playing on. No. This is freaking handheld mode. I kid you not. Alright? This is handheld mode that I'm playing right here. Gorgeous. I know. Right? That's the point. They focused on their video games. Now they have all these characters. You've got Zelda, Mario, Pokemon. We've got a lot of titles. A lot. When I say a lot, I mean a lot. And Nintendo is now packaging this power and this technology behind it. So it is definitely obvious that you know, who's going to pick up a PlayStation 5 in 2026 when the economy is so stressed right now? A lot of people don't even have the amount of money that they thought they should by then. So that is what's going to kill. I think Sony's going to die eventually. Is I'm not wishing it. I'm just saying. I think it's really going to happen. I think it actually is going to happen because a majority of the video games we just had a state of play is Nintendo Direct. Whenever Nintendo does a live stream showing off new upcoming games and stuff like that, and then it's called state of play for PlayStation. The state of play that PlayStation recently had, believe it or not, majority of those games that they showcased because they do not belong to Sony. I speak about this all over my face. I post about it all the time on my social media platforms and wherever else. Sony is freaking dead. I am so sorry. Sony is dead, dead. I'm gonna give the reason right now. All right. So the video games, there's something called IP, and if a title belongs to you, it can release on another system. If not, no. Game Freak recently released a video game. This has people confused. They're wondering. They don't have the knowledge, so they want to know if it's possible that Pokemon could end up on PlayStation. No, Pokemon is owned by Nintendo, right? But Game Freak itself is the company itself, Game Freak, that was creating. They created a lot of games recently. I think there's one that released. There's this elephant. I can't remember the name right now. They made this poker racing racehorse game on 3DS a while back. Then they went ahead and launched some platforming game where you run as an elephant. You might know what I'm speaking of. All right, that as well, right? So Game Freak, believe it or not, it's just those games went below the radar because they were not as mainstream. They weren't given the attention as much, but they exist. Yeah, so Game Freak doesn't belong to Nintendo. It is Pokemon that does the name and branding for Pokemon. Pokemon games are what would be stuck on Nintendo systems. Belong on there. All right. So majority of the video games, this is how Sony definitely killed itself. I'd say you're spending your entire decades, right? All the decades that PlayStation existed on video game companies that do not belong to Sony. Majority of them could launch on another system. So imagine you're running a race. I said this in a video before, and I really think it's time that I launch this video again. This is the perfect time for it. It's what's going on right now and what people are saying, right? Imagine you're running a race and you have a race going on, maybe 10, 15 people, and you've got one of the racers pacing themselves. Like this is a lap, a relay or something. This is a lap race. And for the first 5 laps or whatever, say it's one of those like, endurance races. And for the first 5 laps, Nintendo is running super slow. Well, Sony is going top speed all 5 first laps, dumbass. Maybe slowing down for the 3rd lap or so. But they're not pacing at all. That's what Sony's been doing. Sony's been spending their money. I've got Blu-ray, high def, 4K, this and the next and the third. I think in PlayStation 3, the Monster Hunter that launched in that, the Monster Hunter Portable 3, the HD one, it was on PSP, PlayStation Portable, and then it launched on a PlayStation 3 as well in an HD version. And I think that can actually use 3D with a 3D television. The technology is always up there. So that's what Sony's been focusing on, while Nintendo focused on their games. So now that Nintendo all of a sudden picked up the pace and Sony's already tired, right? Because majority of the money isn't going to be going to freaking Sony. Like the companies don't belong to Sony, right? And all of a sudden, majority of the video games that wouldn't have released on Nintendo, long story short, people who have, I would call a simple mind, not using a brain as much, are going to be in serious trouble these days, because these are things that have been pacing for years, decades even. And I was always smart enough to see what would happen. Like, it's common sense to me, but it's not really common sense to everyone else. And that's kind of sad, I do believe. So all of a sudden, we've got Tomb Raider, we've got Elden Ring, literally coming out on Switch 2. These, although they could be washed down a teeny bit, because let's be honest, the PlayStation 5 still has a way more teraflops, whatever it is, than the Switch 2. But the Switch 2 has more than enough. The Switch 2 uses ray tracing, and believe it or not, Nintendo is still saving money because the more recent technology, Sony packed so much technology into the PlayStation 5 just to get the graphics to run, to operate. And you cannot change the hardware in a system without affecting the games somehow and causing, like having to spend way more money fixing them. So Sony is stuck with the hardware it has right now. And this is where the death toll comes in, because the economy is kind of struck already, right? We have these resource issues and stuff like that going on. What's going on the earth? Money is going towards like certain industries for, like we're in these odd days too as well. Natural disasters, things are starting to happen, right? Um, Stuff I won't stress on because that's a dangerous topic. To be honest, I'm going to be raw honest right here. It's a very dangerous topic, but I was just going to talk about the earthquakes and like volcanoes and stuff. But anyways, I'm not. I don't want that to affect my video timeline and anything of the sort right now. The topic, AI, like the internet right now is literally AI in 2026, so 2025. So let me just cut to my point again. So people are gonna more than likely buy a Nintendo Switch 2 instead of buying. They could carry it with them. You could play Resident Evil Requiem. Resident Evil 9 is coming out on Switch 2. Tales of Arise, and it's gonna have even better graphics, believe it or not, and better performance. They're using DLSS and NVIDIA, some custom NVIDIA chip in this thing, and that's it. It's going to be way cheaper to even produce the graphics. It's more recent technology. It's a freaking tablet. You could take it anywhere you want quite easily. You have all these Nintendo titles and your beloved PC titles. And yeah, so I do believe people are saying that that's not going to happen at all. But the recent updates, I'm quite sure, are for that. And as well, so right, Monster Hunter Wilds, I do believe that's going to come out eventually on this, like quite soon, sooner than people think, and it's going to shock a lot of people as well. Final Fantasy VII Remake was definitely a surprise for a lot of people. This as well. All right, so what's happening here is the companies have so much pressure on them that they've got to raise their prices, right? And Nintendo was even, being all boastful and stuff, saying, we don't have to rush and raise prices because we're not always on the edge with our money. We've been saving for years. It didn't say it like that, but I've been telling people that. They've been saving for years. Nintendo has way more advantage. Nintendo's a genius, man. Imagine a younger sibling, a smaller sibling that's like all genius and planning ahead for the future, and the older sibling is wasting their money, always at bars, always showing off. That's definitely Sony, sadly, and nothing to show for it because they're not making anything of their own, anything of the sort. They're just milking from other people's. Is like, imagine borrowing money all the time. That's technically it, borrowing money. Oh, please, like, launch your game on our system. It's going to be worth it. PlayStation has all these graphics, but now all of a sudden, Nintendo is also pushing 4K, everything else, and yeah, so the video games are PlayStation 5 video games. They can't just make a budget PlayStation 5 with like less RAM and stuff in it. The games are not gonna work. People are not gonna buy them. We have the Nintendo Switch 1, right? Then we have the Nintendo Switch OLED, Nintendo Switch 1 OLED. Then we have the Nintendo Switch 1 Lite. That's a Nintendo Switch that literally only works in the hand. It cannot connect to the television, and it was never a problem because the games never packed that much or needed that much when on the television. But the Switch 2, no. I'm playing this handheld, and this is running just as well as it does on the, even better in some cases, because the Switch 2 has a 120 hertz and 120 display speed, the speed of the screen itself, right? 120 FPS, and the television has 60. A lot of TVs are limited to 60 unless you get one specifically that is 120 or above. some display or something, right? So it's even running better than on a television, even in some cases, in some ways. And this is a tablet, like I kept saying. But Sony's PlayStation now is quite limited in that sense. They need all those teraflops. There's a lot of memory. Sony could eventually go out of stock for PlayStation and run up in a lot of issues here. And if they go ahead trying to create a PlayStation, they're already losing money right now. The stock is really bad for Sony. People are saying not, but it is. They've got to raise their prices. Sony is literally, like someone is going, their body's going through like a shock after being stabbed or something. That's definitely what's happening to Sony. They're bleeding out. Sony is going to bleed to hell out. I'm not wishing it. I'm just warning you. If you're new to video gaming and you're looking to get a video game, do not buy a Sony PlayStation right now. This is the worst time. So what's gonna happen here? I do believe with Nintendo, because people have been, people do everything these days. People have been data mining and they saw a code stating that there's some new Nintendo Switch 2 possibly being created. It's not a more powerful Switch 2. I think I know what's happening here. There's a lot of people who buy a Switch 2 and they're really just about the handheld play. There's a lot of people I know have been wondering why is odd to me but not to them. They're more, these people are like way happier with a system that it isn't as big in their hands, is like a little more sleek. They don't need to use it on a television. They're comfortable just playing it in their hand as B. So I do believe a Nintendo Switch 2 Lite is going to release. They might give it a smart name. They might just call it Lite again, Nintendo Switch 2 Lite. That is going to be limited to handheld, and it's going to be just as powerful as the Switch 2. It's not going to be weak. Maybe it's not going to be as powerful because it's not going to be using the extra RAM and memory that it does when in the television. That's why I'm laughing right here. They don't need to use that extra. It's like, it doesn't have to go 4K. How could you have 4K on a little handheld device? And a lot of people these days, like the Steam Deck, a lot of people, they prefer portable play because it's more convenient. You can carry a system with you, and yeah, there's no 4K in handheld as far as I know. So it's not gonna need that extra pack of energy and power. And Nintendo's gonna save way more money doing this again. Their games are very beautiful, very demanding right now still, because the Switch 2 still needs a lot of RAM. This thing runs Final Fantasy 7 Remake at, I think they said 30 FPS, but still DLSS, way better graphics, cleaned up, believe it or not, than PS4, PS5. In some cases, the lighting is a bit better. It's crazy. So I'm telling you, Nintendo is going to be just fine. Nintendo's even going to be 10 times better compared to Sony. It's Sony that's going to die right now. Their systems are too reliant on technology. That's all Sony has had going for it. Now that Nintendo does, everyone is buying a Switch 2. I even found a video today just randomly stating, I don't know if I could drop that in the, I'm going to drop that in my video description right here. Some guy, he says he's dropped his freaking Steam Deck. He has a Steam Deck. He prefers getting his games directly on Steam, and he bought a Switch 2 and he got rid of his Steam Deck. I'm going to drop that there and you can see why he said that, what he said about that. But yeah, so Nintendo, the pressure, when the company goes under pressure, I'm just have a screen here and speaking, I'm so sorry about that. But when a system has that much, a company has that much pressure on it, they either, two things happen: they buckle and lose money altogether, and it gets worse and worse, or they adapt. And Nintendo is going to be really, really, really good at adapting right here, because all they've got to do is create a Nintendo Switch 2 Lite. Like the way that the customers are already accustomed to games that are just good enough in graphics and whatever else. The graphics are going to be no different. You're just going to be limited to handheld play, and it's going to be using way less RAM because it's not going to be using extra power to, it's not going to be docked on a television. That's going to happen for sure. I feel if things do remain that bad, maybe into March, April, May, Nintendo's going to have to do it. They're going to have to lay off on the expenses. Way less Nintendo Switch 2 are going to be made, I guess, maybe in that case, and they're going to have Switch 2 Lites. So just, I said it, and it is happening. when you had the chance to get a Nintendo Switch 2, if you want the full package, you can use it on the television. Every dessert, you should have gotten it. Do go and get one right now. You would not regret it. Alright, so that's gonna be it. I'm gonna maybe make a part 2, getting into depth on this later down the road, and I have a part 2 for something else that it was, something more, a bit more controversial. Speaking about the earth and this island that I was born onto called Barbados, stuff like that as well. But yeah, so stay tuned. Remember to leave a like, comment, subscribe. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, whenever and wherever you're watching. This has been Mr. Pokemon 907. Stay tuned. I have some game series coming up. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I just took a more deserved break from YouTube and all that. Yeah. So Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I'm thinking about playing a Monster Hunter. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm gonna be playing Rise on here. I don't know how it holds up handheld for this. How I'm recording this, but I'm gonna play something aside, apart from what's going with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So that's it. Until my whatever future video release after this. This has been Miss Pokemon 907 again, and yeah, thank you for watching.